search for romance in people and depth and love and conviction. I'm a complete romantic. I'm an absolute, the poster child for the Cinderella complex. Where this comes from, I don't know exactly.
La femme idéale, c'est une question de choix. Elle est, pour moi, il faut qu'elle ait un tempérament. Il faut qu'elle s'assume, qu'elle ait un tempérament, qui est prête à donner beaucoup pour moi et pour son entourage. Qu'il soit gentil. Je peux pas vous dire belle parce que quand elle a ces atouts-là, automatiquement, elle est belle. Elle est belle.
My ideal actor these days, my current lust would be Russell Crowe. He has this quality that is just raw testosterone. I find that I find men, the men that I'm accustomed to meeting in this city, I find that they don't have a lot of depth. They do, but not the type of depth that I'm in search of or in need of.
Pour moi, quand on dit un bel amant, ce n'est pas que sexuellement. C'est, comme je vous disais tout à l'heure, c'est physique, c'est moral, c'est plein de jeux de regard. C'est toucher la personne d'abord au cœur, puis à la tête, au moral, lui faire... parce que c'est ça le moteur. Je pense que le moteur, c'est le cerveau, c'est... Et je pense que le français est un beau parleur. Et quand il se sent bien avec quelqu'un, il fera tout pour lui plaire à chaque fois.
I personally find it very frustrating because I'm, what I've discovered about myself even, I mean, I think I've always been like this, but especially recently I've discovered that I'm a horrible, horrible romantic, and I'm looking for a depth in people, and I've been very fortunate. I've found a great deal of that in my friends, and I've got some very close friends that I've found here in Los Angeles. But in a very general sense, there are a lot of people who are really scratching the surface and very unhappy. I don't understand why it happens. I search for romance in people and depth and love and conviction. And I'm desperate to find that.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle cherche? La sincérité, je pense. La sincérité. Qu'est-ce qu'elle cherche? La sincérité. L'amour. L'amour, mais pas les mots. La manière d'être, la manière d'agir, les regards.
I certainly know what I'm looking for in someone, and it doesn't come in the form of a particular face or shape or body type or anything like that exists physically. Hey, baby. It exists within. You know, it doesn't have to be the particularly the most beautiful face in the room. I really couldn't care less about that, although it's nice.
Elle ne cherche plus la sécurité, parce qu'elle peut elle peut l'avoir toute seule. Donc maintenant, elle cherche plus, on va dire, une partie complémentaire pour lui permettre de vivre heureuse. Dans sa vie active, elle peut être heureuse. Maintenant, elle cherchera un homme pour combler les à côté et équilibrer un petit peu sa vie morale, physique et sexuelle.
the notion of intimacy in our society today is that people take their clothes off and go and make love, where the true meaning of intimacy is that there is a bond that is so deep, so mysterious, that it is difficult to describe or to understand. But when people do experience it, it's so special, it's so unique, so powerful, so overwhelming, that they will be willing to do anything to be intimate with that other person. They break all the taboos, they break all the barriers, and they reach out for that person because that chemistry is so strong, it's so powerful. And very few people ever experience that. Very few people come to me and tell me that they married a person like that. And what is it that we can experience such a beautiful, wonderful, overwhelming feeling of intimacy, of this super connectedness that is so deep, so powerful, that really bonds people together, doesn't let them come apart, when so few people experience it?
Le sexe, c'est la nature, c'est intérieur. C'est des pulsions intérieures qui font que c'est plus fort. C'est plus le cerveau, c'est les pulsions intérieures qui dirigent et on ne peut rien faire contre ça. Enfin, moi, je ne peux rien faire contre ça.
People seem to be in search of a quick hit. Quick intimacy. They make a decision in a moment, oh, I think I'll date this person. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of depth to that. And then as soon as you turn around, they're gone. And, how many times can you continue to trust and remain open with an open heart and an open mind, before this type of behavior and this type of callousness damages you? I see it around me consistently, and it doesn't seem to be very popular to stay with a relationship through the good times and the bad. As long as everything's all good, everybody just hangs right in there, week or two, whatever it may be. But as soon as you've got somebody taking out the trash, they're gone. I don't know.
I know so many people who are suffering in their hearts and in their lives because they haven't been able to find the real thing. They have a good thing, they have a medium thing, they have an okay thing, but it's not the real thing. And the real thing cannot come just because you found a soulmate. That's a beautiful concept, and I believe in it completely, but soulmates are anyone that has a significant impact on your life.
There are so many beautiful women, and if you have a problem with one beautiful woman and walk around the corner and there's another. It's very easy to jump and not create anything stable or worthwhile. For somebody to see past me, my body is
or a man. The most profound thing that I've realized from the clients that I've worked with over the years is that when their father, women, loved, nurtured, affectionate, caring, they would grow up with that ability, that deep inner knowledge of something, and they would be able to be dangerous. They would be able to explore that and search for it. And the same is with men. If they had a good nurturing relationship with their mother and father, and they were affectionate and open with their children, then what happens is that the man is able to remain sensitive and connected to his mother. He's not putting up barriers and walls and facades, nor does the woman. She has been prepared by life, creating, fears and walls, obstacles for the man. She builds doors and invites them. Same way that the man comes to you and says, well, let me take you somewhere. That is a very rare pleasure.
Women have become so independent that they've almost developed a masculine state. They've had to become so strong and live on their own and pay their own bills and develop their own careers. And Mama's bringing home the bacon and frying it up in a pan. And I think that men have somewhat lost their purpose or their role in society. A lot of the women that I know, frankly, are more masculine than a lot of the men that I know. And that so saddens me because I'm such an enormous fan of testosterone.
One of the things that our world needs more is that openness, the receptiveness. And the biggest reason that people are not there is for fear, stress. And as people become aware that stress and fear and anger are just a radar warning us to say, hey, protect yourself. But they're not there to dominate our lives. That what happens is people are able to overcome that fear, to be courageous, to be fearless, to be confident, to search for the happiness, to go and take the risks that are necessary sometimes to find true happiness.
I would like a man in my life to play the role of a man, and the lines are so blurred. Generally speaking, from the people that I'm in, that are in within my world, the women, most of them are just as masculine as the men that I know. And I don't know how that happened or why it happened.
And only when people learn how to relax and let go do they become able to overcome the fear and start approaching, searching for the possibility of finding that true love, finding a soulmate, finding and exploring the deepest intimate connections, which is a risk. It's a danger. Yeah, people get hurt. But you know what? I haven't met anyone whose broken heart didn't mend, whose lost relationship was the last one they ever had.
être tellement proche
a great deal of cattiness, or, you know, even when it comes to auditioning, you know, if I'm up for something and I don't get it, I'll call all my girlfriends and tell them to get themselves an audition somehow. If I don't get it, at least one of them might. And I find a great deal of generosity in that capacity. But I don't find that people give a lot to each other, especially romantically, or God, it's almost as if romance and love has just been lost in this beautiful, beautiful city of Los Angeles that we have.
You know, the story from Hollywood is not the one that is going to bring people closer together. It's always the me society.
Ce ne sera pas une question de temps, une question de qualité, ça sera une question comment dire, de forme, une question de forme, une question d'odeur. Ce ne sera pas spécialement l'acte en lui-même. Il y aura des caresses, pendant ces caresses, il y aura un regard, il y aura, même pendant l'acte, pendant l'acte, il y aura des petites caresses, des petits bisous, des paroles.
It's so important for people to be willing to surrender, to give to each other, to say, I love that person so much, I'm willing to go against myself just to make them happy. And that's not the message from Hollywood or the media. That's not the message from the people who control the entertainment industry.
Je ne travaille pas cette chose, je la vis comme ça. C'est un peu un jeu à la base pour séduire, mais une fois qu'on est dans ce jeu, eh ben, on y va, mais intérieurement.
The two most prominent things that people look up to is materialistic fame. And that takes away from each individual's capacity to search for that intimacy and share and be willing to explore things that are not materialistic, that are not have anything to do with fame, but rather intimacy is the opposite direction.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I certainly have had my share of love and relationships. I just can't seem to find the depth that I'm looking for.
Et arrivé à ce moment-là, on est très rarement déçu. Je parle pour l'homme. Après que ça dure, une question de temps, c'est pas le problème. Ça peut durer un quart d'heure, ça peut durer une demi-heure, ça peut durer une heure. C'est pas là le terme du bon amant. Donc pour moi, le français n'est pas spécialement un homme très bien au lit. C'est qu'il y a un tout. Il est bien avant, pendant, je ne peux pas parce que je n'ai pas cette prétention, et après.
Makes me sad. I find myself going through life predominantly alone. My best friend is my dog. Got a beautiful collie wandering around here somewhere.
Moi, en tant que moi, je suis plein de caresses après. Après, j'aime sentir cette personne contre moi, j'aime la caresser, lui parler tendrement. Et pas spécialement, une fois que j'ai fini, m'allumer une cigarette, ou alors me lever, lui faire un café. Non, c'est...
It's going to explore your own soul and say, who am I? What do I want? What do I need? What do I search for? And when you ask that, you basically begin to look for the answers. And that search is what matters. The answers may or may not come, but it's your search that will help you find fulfillment in life.
But I would really like to have a family. I think I would be very good at that.
Donc pour moi, le français, peut-être, par fierté, je vous dirais oui, par fierté, mais pour rigoler. Mais sinon, je pense que chaque pays, chaque homme, chaque religion a ses coutumes, a ses manières de faire. Et je pense que si tous les gens s'aiment sur cette terre, c'est que chacun y fait bien de son côté.
I really want to live. I'm looking to live. I want to do everything in life. I don't really believe in divorce. When I do eventually wind up with someone, I would stick with it through thick and thin. And
C'est la vie. C'est la vie et je pense que dans chaque pays, chaque pays a son attitude différente avec la personne, justement.
What Hollywood and much of our society offers is the opposite. Don't search. Get it prepackaged, buy it for $6 for $1, you know. It's just not the same thing. And the further we are pushed away from that intimacy, that personal level of life, the harder it is for anyone to find the real thing.
as far as love and relationships, I can't seem to find the depth of purpose that I seek. I have so much life in me. I'm so alive. And I can't, today, anyway, I'm finding it difficult to channel my energy in a way that will satisfy me. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for life, for love, for success, for emotion and passion and richness and warmth and honesty and integrity and loyalty and the good things that life has to offer.
La femme idéale, on la croise tous les jours, dans tous les coins de rue, sauf qu'on n'a pas le temps de l'aborder. Mais le monde est fait de femmes idéales. Voilà.
I think there's definitely within our society almost this fear of intimacy that just like beauty is almost superficial, there's this need for the relationships to be superficial because we're afraid to give of ourselves and let people see who we really are. And I think that it's almost this, we're afraid of who we are. We're not in touch with ourselves.
Do you think that's why we're getting married later or not at all?
I think that's part of it. I mean, also I think it's the career thing is that people want to get established in their career before they go into relationships. I want to be established. I want to do my thing before I'm willing to let someone else in on my thing. So
now you didn't wait though. You are getting your doctorate and you've got the wife and
that's been a stress on our relationship because she's been working and putting me through school, and so
now you owe her, baby.
Exactly.
You owe her big time.
because I'm doing my thing. It is easier in some ways to isolate yourself, and then you can do your own thing and you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right.
But sometimes I end up feeling like guilty about what I'm doing because I know that Kristen's having to make sacrifices to put me through school.
Right.
So, I mean, there is an emphasis on more so, even in the way that we interact with each other, there's the courtesy and stuff we're not as courteous as we used to be. There's not this emphasis on, I'm going to look out for you, what's in your best interest. It's all more about ourselves, and I think that totally impacts the relationship.
I wonder if, I mean, I remember when I grew up, you know,
Back
the
in
80s.
the day, exactly, in the 80s.
It was labeled the me generation, and I always had a little beef with that, but I think that we pretty much, I mean, now that I'm married and am interacting with my husband on a daily basis, I realize that I am a selfish
Selfish bastard.
I mean, I don't know. I just wonder if this next generation coming up is going to be a little bit different. I hope so, but I think people always hope that. They pick what's jacked up about their generation
try and
and say,
fix
I
it.
hope they get it better next time, you
Never
know?
does.
My feeling is that the sexual revolution which came along in the, let's say, the 1960s or the 1970s has been a bit of a failure. Basically back then they said to us with the sexual revolution that it was going to offer us intimacy, it was going to offer us more happiness. That was the key word. If we would just get sexual, we would be far more happy. But now we're 40 years down the track and we can look on and can say, well, there's not more happiness out there sexually. In actual fact, I think there's more unhappiness, and I think most people agree when they look at it dispassionately. Again, I would question the whole sexual revolution idea, which says that you should go out and have as much sexual experience as possible, and that somehow that will create the skills of intimacy, which will give you happiness. I think what the sexual revolution offered was a lot of technique. You go out, sleep with a lot of people, you know, get to know how to make love to lots of people, but that doesn't give you the skills of intimacy, which are commitment and honesty and openness. How open and honest can you be with a lover who you know that in a year or two time you're going to ditch because you want to move on to the next sexual experience? Of course people are being set up not to know how to get close to each other. And I see the sexual revolution as being involved and complicitous in that. Within our society that is so sexually oriented and is saying go out and have short-term relationships and this is normal, that is just killing off the ability for people to practice certain skills that will allow intimacy. I see that's where the problem is. And you know, some of those skills are, it takes real skill and learning to learn how to be committed to a person. And to, you know, conflict resolution is a real skill. If you're involved in relationships that are going to only last until the next conflict, then you're not building skills that are going to allow intimacy. You're just building skills that are going to allow you to move on and on and on, and you just become a gypsy. I think that one of the things that is really missing as a result of the sexual revolution, because it's put so much emphasis on sexual experience. Sexual experience takes away a certain amount of vulnerability, and that's the key word, vulnerability of people. And intimacy, I believe, revolves around this whole idea of being able to be vulnerable with the other person. Now, if you've got lots of sexual experiences and your partner has lots of sexual experiences, you can tend to be more cavalier and you can rely on your experience in a relationship. Even this dirty word virginity offers the most incredible vulnerability. And two virgins who go into a sexual relationship are incredibly vulnerable. But I think that is the most founding, you know, start to intimacy, if you like. Now that's a radical view.
There is a growing incompetence or incapability to forge genuine intimate relationships between people. For an intimate relationship to develop, you need to have two individuals with developed identity. If you don't have your identity, you don't have anything actually to give in a relationship. You cannot give yourself if you don't have yourself. And people today don't have themselves. People today, especially in the Western world, and it depends, you know, where geographically, but they feel that their freedom, their individualism and their freedom, they're entitled to choices at all times. It has been proclaimed to them that they can make any choice they want, that they don't have to be responsible to anyone else. So they prize this choosing, this advantage of being able to choose, and they try different identities. So consumerism has come to a point where you can try a certain identity. Well, let me try that. Or maybe this, or maybe that identity. And it's like this identities are changing so quickly and they're offered on a market so much that people do not buy into any identity for themselves, neither from their parents, that risk has been taken, neither from the society, they're critical of it, neither from the church, they're fed up with it, neither from their peers, because peers are fluctuating themselves and leaving, and there's so much motion. So they haven't settled for any identity. They go for decades, for all of their lives, without settling about who they are. Now, when they cannot settle for that, when the intimacy needs to develop between them and their friends and their dates or spouse or child, they cannot give themselves because they're not sure who they are. Modernism convinced people today that sexuality can be separated from other aspects of human being, that you can have a sexuality as recreation, basically, and not to affect other parts of your humanity. But it's like a super glue, sexuality, and whenever you take something apart, pieces break. And people have been taught today that they can engage in sexual conduct without giving other parts of their personality to a person, other parts of their being, without being damaged. But Bible is teaching nobody can do that. You cannot separate it, because sexuality is a far bigger thing than having a good time. It's a huge, it's a deep thing, it's a wide thing. The only way to experience is to have a genuine, intimate relationship on all levels, and sex as a part of that. That's great sex.
The whole idea of self-giving is something that scares people. It's seen as weakness, but that is not necessarily the right way of seeing it. After all, Christianity is the religion which is out there, which really pushes the idea of sacrificial giving. But when you look at its founder, whose name was Jesus, he was a person who had incredible power and is cast that way consistently within Scripture. But that doesn't relativise the fact that of his giving. He is a person who has power, but his whole message is giving. And so giving should not be seen as weakness. And I believe that when people approach their relationships, when they realise that they are able to give to the other person rather than just take from them all the time, that this will enhance the intimacy of the relationship.
That's why Christianity has spread one-on-one, not through the screens and in ways that communicates information by a remote person. It was always communicated through a human, I would say, I-thou contact that happens between people. And there is mystery happens. Two human beings come together, universe trembles, there's angels around, something is happening. And only that way these values can really be communicated. Now, that's why you had mentors in the past, you had spiritual guidance, you have gurus, you have teachers. We all know people in our lives who changed us because we know them. Now that need, because people have problem with intimacy and they're socially disconnected because of this society, they don't have these people around them. They're not close enough to them. The closest they can get to inner life of a person is through a movie.